Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, we are looking at the new Marvel Legends Venom, part of the Venom wave. And this is movie Venom, and I don't normally collect movie figures, even though I review them from time to time, but it's Venom and it's not a real person, so I don't mind it. I think it's weird to collect figures of real people. Anyway, this is movie Venom, which I know is not cartoon or comic Venom, and that's not as good, but it is still good. And it is interesting to me, though, that we got a whole wave based on Venom, and not a single new comic-based Venom that doesn't suck butts. And so that's kind of a bummer. But this figure is the opposite of that, so that's a good thing. So let's go ahead and get him off the stand and take a closer look. This guy stands just shy of 20 centimeters, which makes him pretty close to, let's say, 7 7/8 inches, right around there. And he's a pretty big dude, and that's pretty good. As far as scale goes, here he is up against one of my prototypes for my action figure line called Rival Clans, part of Rival Collectibles. Look it up on Facebook or Instagram. Very nice figure, but before we talk about it, we have to do a question of the day. Who is your favorite symbiote? For me, it's Venom. Easily Venom, then Carnage. Not because they're the two most common ones, I just like their designs the most. Alright, this guy, mostly just a big hunk of black plastic, which is not always a great thing. It's generally something that makes it look pretty cheap, but I will say they saved it by doing a good job with the sculpt. He is covered in veins and wrinkles, which make him look very nice. He's probably too shiny, but because he's Venom, he can get away with it, and you could easily make the argument that he's supposed to be shiny all the time. So that is pretty good. I'll note, though, that they painted the white veins that he has not as well as they painted the black ones on the Carnage figure from the same wave. And he had way more, so it's kind of interesting to me. Maybe just that it's harder to paint white, and so they did a poorer job. I guess that's okay. But they did do a good job painting the face. The eyes are good. The teeth could be better on mine, but generally they're okay. And that's it for paint. Very minimal, not great paint. But the sculpt is good overall. I'll say his hips are still a little bit wide, mostly the thigh gap. If they just got rid of that thigh gap, brought the legs in a little bit closer, that would be fine. That would be fine. Don't know why they don't do that. There's plenty of option for them to do that. The way that it's engineered, they could do it, but they don't do it. I don't get it. But still, very nicely proportioned. Overall, he's better than most Marvel Legends. His shoulders aren't too low. They're nice and big. His chest is relatively broad. His thighs are longer than his shins. His shins are actually shaped like shins with calves connected to them. I mean, it just... They can sculpt muscles when they want to, they just don't do it. Even his butt cheeks are really well done. Like, this is a very good example of how to sculpt anatomy. All of the muscle groups are in the right places. Very, very nicely done. Very well done. I will say though, looking at his feet makes me want to throw up. I hate the way they designed his feet. I know that's not Hasbro's fault. Just even looking at it in the camera, it's so uncomfortable looking. I don't like that, it's so gross. But that's not Hasbro's fault, so I can't blame them. The figure does look great though. Overall, a little bit of shading around wouldn't hurt, I think, but it's fine. Just a touch of shading to bring him to life. I'll still give it an 8. It's very nicely done. As far as accessories go, we do have an alternate head, so we have one with the tongue out and then one without the tongue out, and that's a really good choice. I'm glad they did that. The permanent tongue out is not a good thing. We've seen that on other figures, and it's not a good thing. And then we also get a fist hand, which is nice, and that's it. Very limited. So 6 out of 10. Just not great. There's so many things they could have done with a movie Venom figure for accessories. Now I get that they spent a lot of money making the figure, but that's not my problem. So I have to do the review. And they didn't include accessories, so the accessory score is low. Is that going to weigh as much into the final verdict? No, because I understand it, but it's still a low score for accessories. Okay, now as far as articulation goes, we have a double ball peg. They didn't do a great job. There's not enough room for the ball peg to move. So it's technically a double ball peg, and it works like a double ball peg. It's just a lot more limited than it needed to be. They have so much more room in there that they could have worked with. It's still gonna be fine, but even War Machine, for example, War Machine has way better head movement than Venom. And Venom is essentially a naked dude. Naked dudes have the least restriction as far as articulation goes. And he's got way less range than War Machine, so that's definitely a bummer. It's fine, but it's a bummer. As far as the shoulders, Full range, no problem there, going all the way up. Rotation is fine. Bicep swivel is fine. Elbows, no problem at all. I do wish that they didn't cut them flat. I mean, that's how Hasbro always does it. I don't know why they do that, but they cut them flat, so it doesn't look as good as it could, but it still looks okay. Wrists have a swivel and a hinge. For the torso, this is something people have been talking about. I've had a lot of questions about this. We have a diaphragm joint which works wonderfully. That is great. If that was the only joint in the torso, that would be okay. It would be fine. I've always said, though, you are best off with a double ball peg in the upper torso and a single ball peg in the lower torso to give the bottom part of the torso some range. That's kind of how humans work, practically speaking. That's not how we work mechanically. All right, this guy only has the reverse ab crunch down here. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Well, it's better than nothing down here, for sure, because you can obviously lean him back and lean him forward more with that, and that's fine. But with that, you are limited, because with a waist swivel, you can rotate him and lean him to the side. So like if you needed him to lean in this direction, you can't do that right now with this. That's very specifically useful for forward and back movement. Everything else depends on this. Now, what you can do, and this is just a very early prototype, and it's not actually plastic, it's resin, so it doesn't work perfectly, but I'll give you an idea. Same idea up at the top as Venom, okay? So you have your double ball peg, you get all the range of motion you want up there. Now, this guy, don't pay any attention to his tiny crotch. That piece is not the final piece. It's just a placeholder. This has a ball peg going into the lower torso, which is the best way to do it as far as range goes, because you can still lean him forward and back on that. And this is also a very stiff piece, and it wouldn't be in the final version. But you can still lean him forward and back on that ab crunch. That's not an ab crunch on this guy, it's a ball peg. On him, it's an ab crunch. So you get the forward and back, but you also get the lean. You also get the rotation. You get everything you want out of only that bottom joint, plus the top joint, if you do it right, which is what I've done. So you can do really, really good things with a simple ball peg, whereas the ab crunch is a lot more limiting. And I will do a video on that articulation. I've had a lot of people asking me for more articulation explanation videos. I haven't stopped, I just haven't done the next one yet, guys. It's a lot of work doing all the different things that I'm doing to try to not starve to death, okay? All right, let's see. For the hips, nothing crazy, but it's definitely good enough. This one seems to go a little bit farther. Who knows why? Bring the leg forward, pretty good range, doesn't really kick it out to the side. It can go back a little bit. Thigh swivel is a little bit loose, but it's there. Double jointed knee works nicely. We're getting close to the toes. I don't like touching them. The feet go all the way flat and not very far forward. And the toes are so disgusting. Ugh, gross. But we have a really nice ankle rocker there. So ultimately, the articulation on this guy is fine. It's really good overall. This could be better, but it's still fine because this is such a nice diaphragm joint. That saved him a bunch, and this doesn't hurt. It's just not as good as it could be. So, final verdict for the articulation on this guy, I'll go 8. 8 seems fair enough. The neck is definitely limited, and the ankles can't go far enough forward. And the ab crunch could be better. But still, 8's a good score. So final verdict now for the overall figure, the whole thing, the whole shebang. I'm gonna say this is a really strong release. I'm telling you guys, I predicted it. This wave was gonna be one of the best waves Hasbro has done, and so far it has not disappointed. There are a couple stinkers, though. We'll get to those. 9 out of 10. I'm gonna go 9 out of 10. I'm skewing my numbers because of things being different importances, but this one gets a 9 out of 10. They did an excellent job on the sculpt on this guy. The articulation's good enough. Accessories are limited, but who cares? Really good release. If you're at all interested in this, get yourself one. This is a good one for sure. Thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed the video, please do give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. And if you haven't subscribed, you might want to. I have new videos almost every single day and thousands already on the channel. So make sure you come back for all of that. And in the meantime, keep collecting.